Blind Justice presents a hero and a city with secrets hidden by the cloak of night. What's Done in the Dark, the audio drama.
The warehouse was a cavernous maw swallowing the meager light that filtered through the grimy skylights. Dust motes danced in the stillness, swirling around Dominic like ghostly apparitions. He sat bound to the chair, the rough ropes biting into his wrists. His blind eyes, hidden behind dark glasses, were useless in this pit of shadows, but his other senses were on high alert. He could smell the oil stains on the concrete floor, the metallic tang of blood in the air. Most importantly, he could hear the slow, deliberate footsteps approaching.
Dominic, or should I say Blind Justice.
Andre. The name sent a chill down Dominic's spine. He'd heard whispers of the man, rumors of his ruthlessness, his uncanny ability to evade the law. Now, he was face to face with the devil himself. A low chuckle echoed in the vast emptiness of the warehouse, reverberating off the cold concrete walls. The sound was both eerie and unsettling, a prelude to the confrontation that was about to unfold.
Pity. I much prefer cooperation to coercion. But sometimes, Dominic, one must resort to less pleasant methods to achieve their goals.
The air shifted, a subtle change in pressure that sent a prickle of warning down Dominic's spine. He knew this feeling all too well. It was the calm before the storm, the moment when everything could change in an instant. He could feel Andre's frustration, the barely contained rage simmering beneath his polished facade. It was a dangerous game they were playing, and the stakes were higher than ever.
You misunderstand me, Dominic. This isn't a request. It's a demand, one that you would be wise to heed. It's an offer you can't refuse. The consequences of defiance are far too severe.
Dominic felt a surge of adrenaline. He had anticipated this, prepared for it. Every muscle in his body tensed, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. With a calculated twist of his wrists, he strained against the ropes. He had practiced this maneuver countless times, knowing that one day it might save his life. The fibers groaned in protest but held firm. He could feel the tension building, the ropes digging into his skin.
You see, Dominic, I've heard whispers of your little gift. The rumors have piqued my curiosity. The power that flows through you, it intrigues me. Such potential, if only it could be harnessed properly.
Dominic gritted his teeth, focusing his will, channeling the energy that thrummed within him. He had to stay calm, to control the power that threatened to overwhelm him. He felt a warmth spread through his limbs, a tingling sensation that intensified with each passing second. It was a familiar feeling, one that he had come to rely on in moments of desperation. The ropes, no longer able to withstand the pressure, snapped. Freedom was within his grasp, but the real challenge was just beginning. Dominic surged to his feet, the chair clattering to the floor behind him. He couldn't see Andre, not in the traditional sense, but he could sense his presence, a dark shape outlined against the faint light filtering through the grimy windows.
You seem surprised. Don't believe everything you hear.
Andre laughed, a sharp, humorless sound.
Perhaps I underestimated you, but this changes nothing.
He lunged. Dominic, anticipating the attack, swayed to the side, narrowly avoiding Andre's fist. The air whooshed where his head had been a moment before. Dominic countered with a swift kick, aiming for Andre's midsection. To his surprise, his foot met with solid muscle. Andre didn't even flinch. He simply grabbed Dominic's ankle, jerking him off balance. Dominic hit the concrete floor hard, the breath knocked from his lungs. He rolled away just in time to avoid Andre's heavy boot crashing down on his chest. Scrambling to his feet, Dominic realized he was outmatched. Andre was strong, fast, his movements honed to a deadly precision. They circled each other, two predators in the dim light, each waiting for the other to make a mistake. Dominic relied on his other senses, his hearing amplified, his skin tingling with awareness. He could feel the vibrations of Andre's movements through the floor, could sense the heat radiating off his body.
Dominic, be careful. There's something different about this one. His energy readings are off the charts.
It was Daniel, his friend, his tech support, his lifeline to the outside world. Dominic had suspected as much. Andre possessed a strength, a speed that defied explanation. But what was the source of his power?
Don't worry about me, Daniel. Just tell me what you know.
I'm not sure yet, but his energy signature? It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's almost inhuman.
Inhuman. The word sent a shiver down Dominic's spine. He had always known there were things in this world that defied explanation, but he had never encountered anything like this before. Andre lunged again, his attack swift and brutal. Dominic barely had time to react, raising his arms to deflect the blow. The impact sent a jolt of pain through his forearms.
You fight like a demon.
Dominic grunted, his voice strained with effort. Andre smiled, a chillingly predatory expression.
Perhaps I am.
The warehouse door burst open with a deafening crash, flooding the space with blinding light. The sudden intrusion shattered the eerie silence that had settled over the place, casting long shadows that danced wildly on the walls. Shouts echoed through the cavernous space, the sound of running footsteps and barking dogs adding to the chaos. The air was thick with tension, every corner of the warehouse alive with the frantic energy of the unfolding raid.
Police, nobody move! The command was sharp and authoritative, cutting through the noise like a knife.
The sudden intrusion seemed to startle Andre. His eyes widened in shock, the realization of the situation dawning on him in an instant. He hesitated for a fraction of a second, his gaze flickering towards the source of the commotion. His mind raced, weighing his options in the split second he had to react. It was all the opening Dominic needed. With a swift, calculated move, he prepared to act, his eyes locked on his target. He swept his leg out, catching Andre off balance and sending him crashing to the ground. The impact echoed through the warehouse, a testament to the force of the takedown. Before Andre could recover, the warehouse was swarming with police officers, their weapons drawn. The scene was a blur of movement and noise, the officers moving with practiced precision. Dominic, caught in the crossfire, felt a searing pain in his shoulder as a stray bullet found its mark. The pain was intense, but he gritted his teeth, determined to stay focused.
Hold your fire! Hold your fire! The urgency in the command was palpable, a desperate attempt to regain control of the chaotic situation.
Dominic shouted, raising his hands in surrender. His voice was strained, the pain in his shoulder making it difficult to speak, but it was too late. The moment hung in the air, a ticking clock counting down to the inevitable. Another shot rang out, and this time it was Andre who cried out, clutching his side as he crumpled to the ground. The sound of his fall was a stark reminder of the violence that had erupted in the once silent warehouse. Adrenaline surged through Dominic, fueled by a primal instinct to protect. He didn't hesitate. Ignoring the throbbing pain in his shoulder and the shouts of the police officers, he rushed to Andre's side.
Get down, he's dangerous.
One of the officers yelled, aiming his gun at Andre's prone form.
Stand down, he needs help!
The officers seemed hesitant, their fingers still twitching on their triggers, but Dominic's commanding presence seemed to give them pause. He knelt beside Andre, ignoring the blood seeping through his fingers as he pressed his hand against the other man's wound.
Daniel, I need you, now.
I'm here, Dominic. What do you need?
I need you to guide me. I need to heal him.
Dominic said, closing his eyes as he focused his will, channeling the energy that thrummed within him. A warm, tingling sensation spread from Dominic's hand, flowing into Andre's body. He could feel the other man's life force flickering, fading with every passing second. Gritting his teeth, Dominic pushed harder, channeling every ounce of his power, his telekinetic energy enveloping Andre like a lifeline.
Come on, stay with me.
He could feel the bullet wound closing, the bleeding slowing, the ragged edges of flesh knitting back together. It was a slow, agonizing process, but gradually, Andre's breathing steadied, his pulse grew stronger. The police officers watched in stunned silence, their faces a mixture of disbelief and awe. They had seen Dominic fight, had witnessed his uncanny abilities, but this was something else entirely.
Incredible.
One of the officers whispered, his voice barely audible above the ringing in Dominic's ears. Dominic ignored him, his focus entirely on Andre. He wouldn't lose him, not like this, not after everything. As the last vestiges of Dominic's power flowed into him, Andre's eyes fluttered open. He looked up at Dominic, his gaze dazed and unfocused.
What? Easy there. You took a bullet for me. Consider it a debt repaid.
Andre blinked, his brow furrowing as he struggled to make sense of the situation. He glanced down at his side where the bullet wound had been just moments before. Now, there was nothing but smooth, unblemished skin.
How?
He began, his voice laced with disbelief. Dominic simply offered a wry smile.
Let's just say I have a few tricks up my sleeve.
The warehouse was a cacophony of sound. Police radios crackled, officers barked orders, and somewhere in the distance a siren wailed. Yet, amidst the chaos, a strange silence had descended between Dominic and Andre. Andre sat propped against a stack of crates, his gaze fixed on Dominic. The warehouse lights glinted off his eyes, reflecting a maelstrom of emotions, confusion, disbelief, and a flicker of something akin to fear.
That wasn't normal, even for you.
You're one to talk. Last I checked, bouncing back from a bullet wound wasn't exactly standard human operating procedure.
A tense silence stretched between them. The air crackled with unspoken questions, with the weight of revelations yet to come. The game had changed, the lines blurred. They were both players in a world teetering on the edge of the extraordinary, their destinies now irrevocably intertwined. Andre let out a humorless chuckle, the sound raspy and thin. It echoed in the dimly lit alley, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded around them.
Touché. Looks like we've both got secrets, Dominic. Secrets that could change everything if they ever came to light.
Dominic nodded slowly, his blind eyes seemingly focused on some distant point only he could see. It was as if he was looking into the very soul of the night, searching for answers that eluded him.
Secrets and perhaps a common enemy, one that neither of us can face alone.
He pushed himself off the pillar, wincing slightly as the movement pulled at his injured shoulder. The pain was a reminder of the battles they had fought and the ones still to come. Around them, the police were beginning to regain control of the situation, their initial shock giving way to grim determination. The air was thick with tension, the kind that precedes a storm.
Walk away from this, Andre, before it's too late. This life, it only leads to darkness, a darkness that consumes everything in its path.
For a moment Andre didn't move, his expression unreadable. The weight of the words hung heavy in the air, pressing down on him. Then a slow smile spread across his face, transforming his features. It was a smile that spoke of resilience, of a man who had faced the abyss and come back stronger. It wasn't the predatory grin from before, but something softer, almost grateful, a rare moment of vulnerability in a world that demanded constant vigilance.
Perhaps, but sometimes it's the darkness that shows us the light, a light that guides us through the most treacherous paths.
With that cryptic statement hanging in the air, Dominic turned and walked away, disappearing into the throng of police officers. His figure melded into the shadows, leaving behind an air of mystery, leaving Andre behind to contemplate his words and the uncertain future that lay before them both. The road ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but one thing was clear: their paths were now irrevocably intertwined.